G'day, and welcome back to our short playthrough of our new game, Castles in the Air by Amelia Caraway. As you will know by now if you've watched part one, Castles in the Air is designed to tell stories like Little Women or Anne of Green Gables, stories of children who grew up together and remain connected throughout their lives. And it's a game about their dreams, cares, their personal struggles, and above all, what they mean to each other. And that's definitely been the theme of our game so far. So in this part, the children that you saw in part one are going to be adults dealing with very adult problems in their lives. Find out how they deal with this new place in the world and the new things that they desire. So our passage of time covered 6 years. So our characters are now 6 years older than they were. And I'm going to get everyone to reintroduce their character, not as the child they were, but as the adult that they have become. So Trooper, do you want to start us off by reintroducing us to George?
Yes, I am playing George Attucks, who is from a very, very old Black family in New England who's been around since the Revolutionary War. They were sort of upper middle class and doing fairly well. He was at a boarding school. He was part of society, a good society, as it were, and good childhood chums with Mariana Becker. His parents went off on a business trip on a ship. The ship was lost, and his family lost everything, and he had to go and live in a small town with nothing left. He sort of retreated into a realm of fantasy and imagination, and but that was a long time ago when things got very tense. When his lawyer was like, "You need to sign the paperwork to admit that your parents are dead," and they are because their ship was found off of Cape Verde. He left after a secret engagement with Mariana. He was given a gift of a hot air balloon by his good and best chum, Isaac, and he took it and he left the country. And it is 6 years later, and he is just coming back from 2 years on a hot air balloon trying to find his family. He's just back in town. He's just arrived into Boston. And he is really excited to find out what his friends are up to that he hasn't really seen in a while. And I'm sure it's great. He has a new role. He is no longer the child, he's now the heir. And the information on the heir says the heir is possessed of many resources and little direction, concerned with using what they have in a wise manner, filled with both wise and foolish plans for ways to help others, and unsure of the motivations of the friends that surround them, which I thought was actually sort of perfect. I've also changed his background. He's now new money.
Oh.
Intriguing. And I'm feeling we're going to find out the reasons
Oh.
behind this fairly soon. But for now, let's go to that chum who gifted him this hot air balloon. B, tell us about Isaac.
Ooh, yes. Isaac, who was previously oh God, what was it called? Like the scamp, the child that's
Yeah.
just like in the streets causing trouble. Grew up and achieved their dream becoming a tailor, a like renowned tailor in Boston. Like people come to him to have their wedding dresses made. People come to him to have just like the most like the latest fashion. So it's been a lot of money and not a lot of like emotional well-being to do things that are good with that money. With the news of Isaac's father having an accident at the textile mill, um, he feels guilty in a weird roundabout way that like you absolutely cannot control. Isaac is now the dandy, which I'm going to take a few little blurbs from this where it's like the well-dressed toast of a fashionable society. Love it. Well-dressed, here for it. Prone to reckless or self-destructive behavior. Check, check, and check. Living an unsustainable lifestyle. Absolutely. There's no long-term goals for Isaac right now other than to drown his feelings and uncontrollable guilt and hope that it all goes away.
Agatha, tell us about Ida.
Okay, Ida is now Ida Becker because Ida got married during the passage of time to whom else but Tom Becker, the most odious cousin of Mariana, who Ida has very intentionally charmed into proposing to her. She feels very protective towards Isaac. Isaac is her cousin, and is kind of just falling apart at the seams. And Ida is always there, like in the times where he's just drunk himself to dissolution or whatever. She'll be there, taking him home. I mean, not actually herself carrying him, but getting her servants to carry him.
Of course.
But then scold him, constantly nagging. That's what Ida is like now. I'm curious about the relationship between Ida and Mariana.
How did that survive, if at all?
Yeah, no, that is a good question. I think it kind of depends how Ida was like about George leaving.
I think if Ida knew that they were engaged, then Ida would definitely reach out and try to be there for Mariana.
Okay.
Because Ida's feeling is also like, well, I married this family, so now we're family.
Yeah.
Ida's like feelings about family are very intense.
Okay.
She's very loyal.
I'm curious about whether Ida would have been like, oh, it's okay, he'll come back, or whether she would have been like, just move on, man.
No, Ida is definitely like that is the most unattractive trait you can ever find in a man.
Yeah.
They have one job, which is to provide for you. And if he can't even do that, what use is he? Let him go and frolic wherever he wants. Think of him as dead.
Okay, I really like that, because I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that would have helped them end up being friends, but I also think that would have bridged the way for Mariana to now be engaged to and marrying Frederick. Because I think Ida would have helped her see like the possibilities in that marriage rather than viewing it just as an obligation.
Her desire is to protect Mariana from that odious George and ensures that she's married and content. Notice that she doesn't think of it as married and happy, because Ida is exceedingly unhappy in her marriage. I mean, she also maneuvers Tom a lot to doing what she wants, but ultimately it is not a satisfying marriage, and she finds him very tiresome. So her way of acting out her frustration and unhappiness is by meddling in other people's lives. So her role is now the meddler. She will insert herself into other people's businesses because she has the time and the means to do so now. And so she does.
Poor Ryder. I mean, it's fine. So I am facilitating the game, but as the facilitator does in Castles in the Air, I also get to play a major character, and the major character that I am playing is Mariana Becker, who was, in the passage of time, secretly engaged to George before he decided to mysteriously disappear. No doubt going to search in a vain quest for his parents, totally abandoning her. So, on Ida's good advice, and in the rekindling of their friendship, she is now engaged to none other than Frederick Collins, who has been very patient and courted her over a very long period of time and is an okay guy. You know, she thinks that she can make this work. This is not a Tom situation. They're going to be all right. And so her character role has resultantly changed. She is now changed to the pragmatist, who is someone who has kind of like set their original dream aside and is focused on their responsibilities over their personal fulfillment for the moment, because she knows that this is going to be really good for her family, it's good for the continuation of the business, and it's good for her future too, and security. But her desire, should George ever show his face around here, is to make her ex-secret fiance understand how much he hurt her. We'll see how that goes. So we are going now. We are no longer children, so we cast aside our childhood phases of play, and we are moving to our adult cycle of play. And in the adult cycle of play, we're still going to have some of the same phases we had as children. So we still have novel chapters for our in-character drama. We still have bosom enemy phases where we're going to see how we're tracking with our bosom enemy, although these take on a new significance, because if you dipped too far into letting your bosom enemy take hold of you, or On the other hand, if you manage to control and channel it for good, society might take notice of that. And that might be something that gives you a condition, which is a change in your story that comes about as a result of your bosom enemy. And then we still have epistolary for writing letters, although, of course, that will also play out a bit different through childhood. But we also have one new phase of play, and that is rumor and scandal. So now we are adults. Boston is talking about us, and we're also gossiping about the world, of course. We are going to jump into our first adult novel chapter. And this is going to be set in Boston on the joyous occasion of Mariana Becker's wedding to Frederick Collins. So I think the plan for this is that there is a large church near the center of Boston. This is the like who's who church. Like if you're a known family, this is the place that you get married. You set your wedding date by when this church is available. It's fine. Then once you are done in the church, then you're going to be going back to the Becker's fine establishment, and there's going to be a wedding luncheon, and anyone who is the who's who in new money in Boston is going to hope that they are invited to this wedding luncheon. So that is the plan for the day. But I think what I would like to start with, I will pitch that you made Mariana's wedding dress. What do you think?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there was a lot of pressure, like a lot of pressure to make sure it was perfect. And like I added extra pressure on myself because I mean, I've known you for so long. It had to be like so perfect. And like, what was it? Frederick, the Collins family, you know, I can't disappoint them because they're footing the bill.
No.
There was just, a lot.
And I think that he is sort of like making sure that everything is perfect before they like leave to go to the church. It's up to you, Agatha, whether you think Ida is also around for this. I think it makes sense if she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the vibe of the dress that Isaac has especially designed for this occasion?
Ooh, that's why I wanted to ask you. Like, I only know so many dress words. I kind of like think maybe for this time, something with like long sleeves that maybe would even go into gloves, like some lace gloves too would be really pretty.
I think it's definitely a lacy situation. I think we're talking like very trim, like waistline that kind of opens up into like the bottom half of the garment that kind of like trails out a bit more.
Yes. And the train of the dress has to be just like obnoxious.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
I need it to be unreasonably long. You know, it's a dress by Isaac Brown if the train is just ostentatious.
So I think Mariana, she's a bit nervous on the occasion as Isaac is like putting the final bit in place. She's asking Ida, does it look all right?
Mariana, you look stunning. You look perfect.
I'll like pull on some of the parts that like are, I don't know, like the corseting, but on the outside, like, of course it looks good. I made it.
Isaac, you've done a fantastic job, of course, but you know, it's partly me. It's partly how it sits and the way it works with the hair. And I feel like I could have planned more. I just sort of thought it would come together in the day. And now it's the day, and I wish that I'd planned more about the way it would all work together.
Didn't you plan for over a year?
This is really the tip of what's fashionable right now. There's nothing more fashionable than this. And it's also not too ridiculous. So people won't think back to it and laugh. I don't think there's anything else you're going to ask for.
All right. You're right. All the same, I think that, Isaac, you're going to have to help me get into the carriage.
Of course. I've got a method with the trains now. You know, I've pretty much got this down to a system.
And Ida's actually going to lean in closer to Isaac, like she's also checking, like looking at whatever it is that Isaac is checking, and then we'll just like sniff and then whisper, "You haven't been drinking, have you?"
I mean, that's maybe some whiskey for breakfast. It's fine.
Grab Isaac's face. if you allow it, just like like that. Isaac,
Yeah.
what did we talk about?
It's okay. I'll be fine.
You
I
can
will
drink
not.
any day of the year except for Mariana's wedding.
It
And
was
she can't see
breakfast. It
because
was
of the
like
dress, and she's
3
like, "What are
hours
you two
ago.
talking about?"
Oh,
Um,
just fixing the lace.
Yeah, there was like a seam out of place, or yeah. And then back down to whispers. "Hey, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I won't drink much more later. Okay."
Isaac,
What?
I swear on God's good Bible that if you mess anything up today, I will cut off the allowance that I am giving you. Do you understand?
Yeah. Of course. I just maybe and like in a louder voice. Let's get you outside.
Yes.
This we want to hurry
Yes.
this up.
And I think Mariana has
Yes.
spaced out for like half of that conversation. She doesn't even like notice that there was a terse conversation happening. And I think as they start moving, she sort of touches Ida's arm and says, "Ida, it'll be all right, won't it?
Of course.
I mean, everyone says everything changes once you're married, but I know I can make this work all right."
Yes. And Frederick is, I think, all things considered, quite a good catch.
Yes, and I have you to give me good advice. You know how to manage all kinds of situations that arise.
That's right. And I will always be here for you.
Oh, all right, down the stairs. Down the stairs then.
One step at a time. One step
You
at a time.
come here.
Yeah,
Getting people to
they,
help.
like round them up and get into the carriage. And I think like the train takes up almost the entirety of the carriage. I think Ida comes with her in the carriage, but Isaac probably has to go separately.
Yeah.
And like that moment before we separate, Ida is gonna give Isaac another look like,
I'll be fine. Okay. It's not like anything dramatic's gonna happen today. I don't really have a reason to drink.
don't say that.
Walks away.
I'll see you
It's
there.
fine. See you there.
I will pay a resolve token if in the carriage on the way to the church, they pass by George and Mariana sees him out the window, but she doesn't actually she's not she doesn't process that it's actually him. How do you feel about that, Trooper?
Yes, and
Yeah.
that George is heading towards Isaac's place, strolling down the street, heading
What
towards
does he
Isaac's
look
place.
like? What does Mariana see when she thinks she's seen George? But that's impossible.
He's dressed, which is why it's probably not George, dressed much nicer, and it's like much nicer clothes. Has got like a heavy carpet bag with like carrying a heavy carpet bag. Probably has a walking stick with him. Looks, I would say, a little gaunt, as if like he'd lost quite a bit of weight, but looks like in good spirits, like somebody looking in pretty good spirits. Very exciting sideburns, a little tired, but with excitement. If that were him, but it's probably
and I think as the carriage passes by, Ida will see like Mariana's head like turn, and then she kind of turns back to Ida with a confused look, and she says, "Gosh, I just imagined that I'd seen George for a moment. That is the heavens cursing me on my wedding day that I should think that I saw him of all things today."
Oh, that you would even bring up that name. Mariana, he is as good as dead. He is behind us.
Yes, I know. I suppose for the rest of my life, I'll just imagine him in a balloon somewhere, floating in the faint distance.
But today, we are not talking about him. Today is your big day.
Yes, it is. And I think the carriage kind of arrives outside the church. So, Trooper, you said that George is heading towards Isaac's place.
right, where he's going to learn that Isaac's at the church, and he's going to have to go there, obviously.
Yes. I see.
Obviously, I think that he thinks that Isaac's getting married.
Excellent.
That's what I
Oh
think.
god.
What part? Where is the ceremony up to? So, of course they arrive, everyone gets ready. Takes a little while because he has to walk all the way to Isaac's place and then all the way to the church.
Yes.
I think that the wedding section, like there is a brief sermon, but they've really asked the minister to keep it short, and then the actual ceremony part begins. Agatha, you're going to be playing Frederick for us for this adult cycle. What is Frederick? What do we see of him?
You know him well enough, and I think he looks a little bit hungover. But he's keeping up a good front for you, and he knows how to do this. He knows how to look serious and official while nursing a hangover. So he looks good. He looks put together. He's putting in the effort to do this. And like when you briefly catch each other's eyes, he'll give you a little bit of a smile, like kind of like a I'm hungover smile.
And so when in this whole procession, this whole series of events, does George enter, and what do we see?
Is there any reason why this man and woman shall not be
Yes. Obviously.
Object now or hold your peace.
That will be when George walks in right there, because that would be the moment when dramatically someone does have to walk in to the wedding. At first, he's going to like slip in because he thinks it's Isaac's wedding. And he's so surprised that Isaac did not ask him to be the best man. And then he realizes it is not Isaac's wedding. Oh no. And he looks shocked to see Mariana and Frederick Collins. And he just says, Mariana? And I imagine it's all still and quiet in the church when at the back he just
Everyone
says,
turns
Mariana?
around to look.
And he like takes 2 steps forward, like still not quite certain as to what is happening. None of this makes any sense. What he's seeing, what's happening.
She turns around to look at him. I think she's in the front with Frederick at this point. There's almost a moment where she's like, yep, I'm being haunted by a ghost. George is dead. This is the only explicable, like, explanation for everything that has happened today.
Do you sway? If you sway, Frederick will, like, steady you.
Oh, God. I like it just because I just like that moment. And I think Frederick kind of, like, catches her, and she just stares at George, complete freeze. Not a single muscle in her body can move.
Well, this is clearly a wedding. And this is my bride-to-be. Was this man on the guest list?
You still be like, are you objecting in this holy matrimony, sir?
And I think like Isaac and Ida probably recognize him too at this moment, right?
Yeah.
Ida?
Yeah.
Furious.
A monologue token to Ida, if you please. I have one. I'd like to give it to you.
How dare this reprobate show up at this time? How many letters did I burn? I do not know, but I should have written a letter back telling him never to show his face again. How dare he, after leaving her like that? This stupid man could not even think to leave a single note before leaving. And he has the gall to show up now at this time after having done nothing to try to snatch this happiness away from her. No, this cannot be. This absolutely cannot be. I will not allow him to interrupt this any further. And out of character, Ida will call for someone to pull this person out of here.
So I wanted to ask, can I hit George in like a drunken rage?
You can offer a token, I guess?
Yeah, that's a result
Yeah.
for sure.
Sure.
Oh,
Absolutely. I would like to be able to say, because people are like, what are you doing here? I want to be able to get the words out. that is my fiance before you punch me.
Yeah, please.
And that is when I think the drunken, right, and like goes down hard.
And then other
Not in the
people will
best
have
of
to
health.
try and
Yeah. Oh, Ida
Like,
is
we'll take
so
me away, we'll
furious.
take you away. And there's just
yes,
like that
and of course he
uncomfortable
doesn't even see
silence.
it.
How dare you? I'll never forgive you.
Yeah.
And just like real confusion, just like absolute confusion.
Mariana has sat down.
Frederick is kind of still like holding Mariana, and then like
She physically closes herself off from Frederick, I think. Like she doesn't push him away, but like she sits in like a very like shutting out the world way.
so Frederick it like notices this change and also heard that that's my fiance and will stand and like do the poor officiant pastor, I don't know, let's say the wedding's off.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody go home. No wedding today. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.
When I think Tom says, I'll take care of that ruffian to his beloved Ida, and he's going to exit to go and cause trouble.
This is like the one time that Ida is like when she's like, good, like she means it.
I think it's either Ida or Mrs. Becker who actually is the one to get Mariana out of the room.
Both Mrs.
Both
Beckers.
Yeah. Like they just kind of like flank you on either side and, you know, lift you up, comforting words, pat your back, and you're whisked away. Oh my goodness. The scandal.
Well, there's two ways we could do this. We could continue on from here, or we could move through our phases and kind of like wrap up the aftermath in letters.
I'm happy to move to letters so that we can really
get
all the things.
I would like Thomas, good old Tom Becker, to tell the constable that he saw George assault the very respectable and reputable Isaac, to get George sort of put in prison briefly so that he cannot go and like, it's not gonna be very long because George is gonna get out, but it'll keep him away so that the wedding can happen and all of that. So just try to get him.
Yeah, keep him away for the next 48 hours while everyone's in crisis mode. Yeah.
Basically,
I like that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Interesting.
And explains why we're doing this in letters. It all makes sense.
And then not tell people that that's what he did. The only person he tells is Ida, of course. He brags to Ida about what he did. Because he's listened to his wife Ida talk about how terrible George is, and he agrees. So he's gonna, help out his cousin. So I'm gonna give you that resolve token though, if you don't mind.
Oh,
from Tom.
Great! How great!
I feel like that's messing up for you.
Great happy condolence for this series of events. So, bosom enemy phase as adults. It is similar in that we're going to mark off whether we felt like our reaction to our bosom enemy was positive or negative. But unlike as children, if we didn't encounter it naturally in the story, we're not going to set a vignette or a scene about it. And although it won't happen to us in this short playthrough, if you do mount up to 3 ticks on either side, that's when those conditions come in. Does anyone feel like they did contend with a bosom enemy and marked off something on either side?
I feel like my new bosom enemy, which is idealistic, probably got me into some trouble. I feel like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that wedding worked out perfectly, but I feel like maybe it's a negative tick for idealistic.
And for Ida,
thinking that
Ida actually held herself in check for this one. So I changed her bosom enemy to prideful. And if she were to just do what she wanted, she would have also joined in the fray. But she held herself back, and I think at great emotional cost. So I will take a positive for that.
That's very funny.
I like that.
What about you two?
I think
Oh,
Isaac's
And your bosom enemies.
I don't know. I don't think like maybe the opposite. Like I don't know. Is hitting your ex best friend
Ex?
people pleasing?
Oh, you're still best friends.
You-
God.
I can't put a yay or nay on that one.
Yeah, I also think impulsive doesn't like I suppose she could have reacted worse and like done something in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think she was like neither dealt with it in a positive or a negative way. She just froze. We are going to move to the
Yeah.
next phase, which is rumor and scandal. And during this phase, we are going to create some of the gossip that is circulating around town. And I can imagine after certain recent events, that there's going to be a lot of gossip circling around town. And in this phase, everyone has 2 turns. And on your turn, you can either create a new rumor, or if there is a rumor there that has been created, you can spread a rumor. And a rumor that is created but not spread is just idle gossip floating around society. But if it has been spread, it's something that most people think is true. It might be true, it might not be true, but most people think it is.
So, I mean, obviously, like, who would not be talking about, like, I'm sorry, Mariana was engaged? Who was that? Who was that fiance? Were we not at her wedding? Like, what is going on? And like
Yeah.
the scandal at the wedding, like,
I have
so
to
good.
spread that.
So scandalous.
It's clearly
Yeah,
it's
someone has
spread.
to spread that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I need the quintessential returning from abroad, nicely dressed rumor. It's like George Attucks has found his parents,
Oh.
who became
Uh-huh.
extremely rich.
I will spread that. Oh, Tom Becker's involved in nefarious business practice. Why are you stealing my rumor? Whoever did that one, I was
You're welcome.
going for something. It was like he stole my nefarious rumor. I love it. The reason why Ida is so upset with George's reappearance is because they had been having an affair, and yeah, apparently Ida and George had been having an affair, and that's
I'll
why she's so mad
spread
at him.
that, especially because like I just the inner circle drama.
The textile factory in Arlingham is closing down to be moved elsewhere.
No.
Yeah, nice. Love it. Love it.
I'll spread the factory one.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great one.
So we have
Yeah.
4 spread rumors that Mariana was secretly engaged to George, that George found his parents who became extremely rich, that Ida and George had been having an affair, and that the textile factory is closing down to be moved elsewhere.
Oh, by the way, some of the people spreading that rumor about Ida and George. Remember Lily, who was mean to you way back on the train, way back when? It's her and it's her crew.
Lily.
So that brings us on to our next phase, which is epistolary. Now, epistolary is slightly different in the options that you have to choose from as adults.
Ooh.
So we all get 2 turns for combined between our major character connection, as always. And along with writing a letter, you can also write a diary or journal entry, describe a dream or nightmare that your character has, or have a weather interlude.
I love a good reoccurring nightmare.
Ooh,
Especially the
yeah.
ones based on the stresses of the world and the immediate things you're experiencing. So the reoccurring nightmare is, maybe the notice has been posted at the textile mill that they're closing in a few months or a month. And it's just like everybody is leaving Isaac. People are talking about it, and it just kind of affirms that that little worm inside your brain that's like, you're terrible, everybody's leaving you, nobody wants to be around you. And it has been a reoccurring nightmare that is keeping him up and unable to sleep. And all I can think about is George in prison, the only person that left but came back. And I think the reoccurring nightmare is like a lot of like falling, a lot of like, you have like visions of like your friends and they're all just like, hi Isaac, and then they just like float away. Very, very abstract for sure. But yeah, a reoccurring nightmare of being left alone by everybody except maybe George.
Ida is going to send a letter to Lily and it'll say, "Dearest Lily, I know we have not spoken in quite a while, but I am happy to know that you are doing so well. In fact, you must be so healthful that you cannot seem to keep that beautiful mouth of yours shut. But no worries. I too know a secret or two, but I am not so unkind as you as to spread falsehoods. I know that living the life of a glamorous socialite is also boring, and that one is tempted to spin little webs in order to entertain ourselves. And I'm sure that you know that all of your friends would love to hear all of these other little webs as well, especially if they are rooted in truth. But again, I am not so low as you, and so I shall warn you of an upcoming rumor. When you make those rendezvous, maybe be a little more discreet." I think what Ida knows is actually she doesn't know. She doesn't actually know if like this like whether Lily was actually having an affair or not, but she has seen Lily like in some place that Lily maybe should not have been in or would not have been in, and so she's just like, I'm gonna make that true. That's what I'm spending the token on.
Oh, nice.
So that is the first letter. Does someone else want to write a letter? Because Ida will also write a second letter. And this one addressed specifically to Mariana.
I want to hear this first, selfishly.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't think it's a letter. I think it's a note. It's a note that is brought to Mariana because I feel like Mariana is kind of like a little bit like just dissociating. And so it's like hard to talk. Dear Mariana, I hope that you are able to bring yourself to read this note. I know that so many things have happened, and I should not have said that nothing bad will happen on your wedding day. And clearly, I was tempting fate. George is back. He is currently in a holding cell because Tom has put him there to just get him out of our hair for a little bit. I don't know what you are feeling because I have never been there before, but I know that it must be very, very hard, and it must be overwhelming and something that you wish to run away from or maybe confront. I don't know. If I were you, I would want to claw his eyes out. But of course, we are not the same people. I have to admit to you that George has written letters before, letters addressed to Isaac, and I saw them when I was taking care of Isaac. But I burned them because I didn't think that George deserved anything. Not our attention, not our affection, nothing. He ran away to pursue his dreams, so let him live in his dreams, is what I thought. But perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps I should not have made this choice for you. In any case, I included your favorite dessert. I hope you will at least eat something. You know I loathe George, but if you decide, and then this is crossed out, but whatever choice you make, I will help you. Yours, Ida.
Thanks, bestie.
I will make a very quick note. I think I get one message out from the holding cell. So this is why I'm still in the holding cell.
One phone call, one letter.
Dear Isaac, it's me, George. You remember me? You punched me at the wedding. I don't quite know why. I have arrived back in town, obviously, and am currently in a holding cell for assaulting you, which I didn't do. I imagine this will be cleared up soon. I was wondering if I could stay at your place until I found a place to stay more permanently. I was uh, going to. There's a note for you at your apartment, which I maybe you've already found. It said that I was back, and I was asking if I could stay at your place. I'm asking the same thing, but this time I'm from a holding cell. Perhaps you might not let me stay at your place. I wanted to catch you up on everything that has happened and what all I've been doing, and I wanted to ask you about Ida and Mariana, and I think I've missed quite a bit. Um, I would appreciate it if you would speak on my behalf to the magistrate so that I might get out of the holding cell and we could have lunch to find out what's going on. I have missed you and Ida and Mariana. I don't quite know how what to write here, considering what just happened, all of it. Freddie Collins, with all my love, George.
I just love the idea of like the original note has been discarded, and then like 2 days later, the letter saying like, "Please, hello, I'm here. Can I stay?" I think Isaac will send you a letter back for the first time since he's never been able to reply. You've never had like an actual like return to location. Dear, no. To George, can't be too personal. And then it's scratched out. And then it says, I'm not good at writing letters. And then that's scratched out. And then this is Isaac, kind of copying your format from the last letter.
Yep.
A lot has occurred since you have fled, ran away, abandoned us all. Relationships have changed. The town itself has grown. There's a lot of things that are just up and leaving, much like you did. I received all of your letters, though I try to look for them today and not a single one can be found. The information about my cousin Ida, her relationship looks complicated from the outside with that Tom Becker. He's a real piece of work. And I have a bit of a bone to pick with him, but I can't vocalize my feelings because, well, married to my cousin. And then Mariana, well, you became engaged and then you left. You told nobody. You left the store unattended. 3 things were robbed that day. Sure, they were small items, but nonetheless, the door was unlocked. The Beckers were furious, and Mariana was inconsolable. All of this to say that you left us a mess, and I don't know if I've ever recovered. I feel really alone, and I don't know what to do. Of course, you can stay, but I don't know if I can face you just yet. I'll sort out the stuff with the magistrate and we'll get the charges dropped, or at least I can help post bail. Hopefully, your friend, maybe, scratched out Isaac, and then folded up and sent to you.
I think Mariana is going to send 2 letters after she receives Ida's note. The first one is to Tom. Another letter is enclosed with this letter to Tom. And it says, Tom, go to wherever you've had him put. Get him out and give him this letter. If If you do not trust me to handle this in my own manner, you will find me a regrettable cousin. That's the first one. And then assuming that he gets the letter, which I'll pay a resolve token for if I have to.
He will deliver it, but he'll wait. You know what I mean? Like he won't deliver it right away. He wants George to stew a little because he's petty.
That's fair.
He would wait
Not
just a
this
little
event
bit.
bringing Ida and Tom closer together.
Closer together,
As a
yes.
couple.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, so the letter from Mariana to George says, George, if I did not know your character as I do, I would think that you walked into that church at that very moment just to torment me further, as you have tormented me these past 2 years by your absence. But I do know your character. And I, despite the overwhelming odds that could cause such an occurrence, believe that you did walk into that very church on such a day by complete accident and coincidence, because nothing else can describe the bizarre twists and turns of fate that seem to pull us together when the world is pulling us apart and pull us apart when the world is pulling us together. I know what you sought when you left without saying a word to me. I do not know what you found, but I hope whatever it is a pathway to happiness. When you left me without a hope that you sought to find. The only world I could imagine where we could be in fulfillment of the promise that we made to each other was one where we enacted every stage of that together. You think I could face spreading such a news alone with my parents and Tom as my caretakers and nothing of my own? And when you were gone for so long, I'm told by Ida that you wrote to Isaac. And I do not begrudge Isaac, but why would you not send letters to my door? And why would you think you could simply leave and then have what you wished waiting for you as if I was a coat to be hung on the rack and then claimed upon your return? Cannot forgive you for that. And yet, it would be wrong to say that my heart had altered. I do not know that you are the kind of man I can trust, even though I love you despite my best impulses otherwise. I want you to think. I know the way you are. I know your impulse and I know your imagination often matches my own, or so it has, before these years. But if your intentions towards me are unchanged, you must strive to prove yourself through the eyes of a society that cannot respect such indulgences. I believe the wedding with Frederick is... I believe it will be rescheduled, but it'll be quite some time before the church is available again. Fate gives us this one small, narrow stream. And I would see what you would do with it.
I have my second letter. So I will
Wait,
send this letter through Ida.
To Mariana?
Wait,
Yes.
you want to get...
He wants to send a letter to
George
Mariana.
wants to get a letter
If we
to
actually wanted
Mariana.
to go to Mariana, it should go via Isaac, because if it goes via Ida, it's not going to make it there. She's been burning George's
George
letters
is
for years.
But George doesn't know this. George asks Isaac what's the best way to get a letter to Mariana because he's concerned that maybe the household
And
may
Isaac
not deliver
doesn't
it.
know that I've been burning the letters. I mean, dramatically, like, do you want the letter to go to Mariana or not? I think it's more the
Yeah,
question.
we have to decide as a group. This is our penultimate moment of this
Yes.
playthrough we have. So it is
Yeah.
very important that we collectively decide as a group in this moment whether or not we want this letter to get to Mariana. It has to be a group vote.
How about if I read out the letter and then we decide?
I love that. Let's do it that way.
Oh,
That is
okay.
excellent.
Okay. Thank you for your letter. I'm currently sitting in Isaac's apartment, but he's not here. I'm arranging for a place of my own. I was very excited to get back home to see you. I was gone longer than I thought I would be. When I left, I was full of dreams, and I thought that I could find my parents, restore my name, and come back, and everything would be fine. The trip was not what I thought it would be. I did find my parents. They were no longer alive. They had survived the shipwreck, and they had made it to a place called Cape Verde. They died of malaria. I was too late to find them. They were gone. I thought that if I'd left right away when I was younger, I maybe could have found them, but I didn't. Missed opportunities, I guess. Anyway, they had invested well, it turns out, and mines, and I have that now. So I have money, but no parents. Cape Verde had just outlawed slavery, but many of the people there were still working as sharecroppers and in great poverty. And so this moment that I learned I had so much money, I was seeing people in such poverty. And I couldn't help but think that that was probably happening at home too. I'd never been outside of New England or down south. There was so much. I meant to come straight back, but I too got malaria and I wasted a bit. It took me a while before I could travel. I finally did, and I didn't come straight to Boston. I came in to Virginia, and I traveled through the South on the way back up, and I saw terrible things. Mrs. Washington, remember Thelma Washington? She always spoke about injustices in the world and women's suffrage and abolition and all of those things. And I realized now that I had money from my parents, I should probably do something with it, that I should try to make the world a better place in some way, if I could. And I made my way back here, planning and hoping to do something with this new money that I got, and to do it with you. I wanted to ask you what you thought, where would be the best places to put it, what you thought. And I thought so much about what you'd think. I realize now that I was thoughtless in going without saying anything. And apparently in my rashness, I hurt Isaac and probably Ida, you most of all. I don't quite know what to do about all of that. I'm sorry. I am. I don't know if you can forgive me. The idea that I would have fought so hard to get the things that I might need to be able to get your father's approval, and in so doing, I've lost yours, is hard. I am ever yours. I don't quite know what to do with my dreams if you're not going to be part of them. Did I say that I was at Isaac's? Scroll up. Oh, I did. Well, I am. If you'll see me, if you won't. You have the choice in all things here. I see that I have no right to ask anything of you. You can give what you wish. I have given my heart, and it remains yours. Whether or not you can ever forgive me, that it will remain true. Always. George.
All right. This is the decision moment. We get to decide how this chapter of the story ends. Do we think she gets this letter or not?
Yeah, Ida would have read it. Ida would have read it through.
I love that.
And then, like, in a very, like, I don't want to do this, but I am giving it to you way, And I think we'll actually say as much to Mariana.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this, but I think you deserve to read it.
Yeah, and I think she sits there and reads it, and then finally she does what she hasn't done yet, which is burst out crying and gives Ida just like holds onto Ida through the tears and then has to decide what she's gonna do. Well, I think that we are now getting into the epilogue stage of the game. So ordinarily, we would do this by writing letters, but since we just wrote letters, I think that maybe vignettes are going to be a better choice to wrap up our story. So I think what we see from Mariana is she will go to visit George, because it's a vignette. We don't hear that discussion,
Yeah.
but we see it, and I imagine there's probably like a lot of crying. I think that the most affectionate they get in this moment is they probably at some point she can't help but squeeze his hand, but I think it's brief.
Yeah.
And then I think she leaves and she breaks off her engagement with Freddie, much to her family's chagrin. But I think she waits to see if George will be able to court her in proper society.
I like a vignette of George moving in with Isaac and the road to recovery, I think. But it's very much like we both have things to work on.
Yeah.
Just in different ways. And I want like a bit of a montage of like some of the hard times. But then like some of like the lovely times, like I'm showing you how to patch the hot air balloon that you still will fly from time to time, and it's just like we work on the repairs together.
George has to get his health back up because he has had malaria for a while, so he has to do walking, which he's going to get you to do with him so that you are maybe not drinking and partying so much, but walking with him because he has to get his endurance back up.
Yeah, that's just like I think it's like a nice wholesome way for like a year to pass as well. And it's a slower, quieter year of just like recovery in a lot of ways. What about Ida?
I want to hear what happens with George first.
I think there would be a couple of sort of vignettes, like a bit of a montage with George reintegrating in certain ways as best he can. He hands Isaac like a thick sheaf of papers, like in an envelope. And he has bought the textile mill and he's handing it over to Isaac to do with what he will so that his family is going to be okay. There'd be like a scene where he's talking to Ida, clearly trying to get advice, right? About like trying to sort of talk to Ida about how to make amends, what he's missed. And a scene with him talking to Ida's parents near the shop. And then I think the last bit of his montage, him inviting Mariana not to a big society ball, but to a carriage ride to Arlingham to see the old place that was not all of that, so they could walk and talk by the old tree without all the rest of that for a moment, without any of the other sort of pressures or thoughts.
Love it. And yeah, what do we see for Ida?
Ida gets pregnant, and as she becomes pregnant, she I think a part of it is that it affects her where she's just more short-tempered. And things just bother her. And I feel like that is like the easing into like a different kind of relationship with Tom, where I think a lot of times she'll like throw her hands in the air and say, "I'm pregnant. What do you want from me?" And like that's kind of like how how she reveals more of herself with Tom in their interactions is that it just like she couldn't control it at that time. Also, she has an excuse. And then after the baby's born, like she doesn't, she doesn't stop acting in that specific way. So that's kind of like how she eases that part of her relationship. Their marriage is just like that, where like sometimes there will just be explosive fights, but then they also make up afterwards.
I think Tom likes her fire, like, because she'd always hidden the fire from him. And I think that him seeing that sort of real toughness about her, I think he respects and likes.
Okay, so there it surprisingly works out. I don't think that she ever actually forgives George. She will do the things that it seems like Isaac and or Mariana would like. So she will give George advice. She will always remind him, not by saying it, but in her horrible attitude, that she has not forgiven him. Her and Lily become like capital R rivals, and they duke it out until they get old.
So that's what happens to our characters. That's how this playthrough of Castle in the Air comes to an end. If you enjoy the game, you can get it on Kickstarter until June 8th and from our website after that time. But most importantly, if you enjoyed seeing these people be fascinating characters and tell cool stories, I'm going to give them a moment to tell you all about them. So, B, do you want to kick us off?
Heck yes. Hello, everybody. I have been playing Isaac and a handful of other delightful / terrible people and characters. I am normally just B Zelda in the world and on the internet. You can find me anywhere and everywhere as B Zelda _. I'm a podcaster, streamer, writer, sensitivity consultant. I do a lot in the tabletop space. And this was absolutely amazing. I'm so emotionally invested, and I'm going to be thinking about all these characters for a long time.
Awesome. Agatha.
Oh, hi. I'm Agatha. I've been playing Ida and also the the unfortunate Freddy. You can find me online on Twitter as Mighty Shrimp with 2 Ys, and then also on itch.io as Mighty Shrimp with 2 Ys. And then you can find me elsewhere as Mighty Shrimp with 1 Y. You can also find me on Asians Represent, which is a podcast talking about gaming from an Asian perspective. And we talk about a lot of different topics. And sometimes I'm there too as a co-host.
Cool. And Trooper.
I'm Trooper SJP. It has been amazing. I like the kind of slight question mark that happened between George and Mariana. I don't know what's going to happen. I love to think of like 90-year-old Ida and 90-year-old Lily just like rivaling each other like, whoa. You know what I mean? Like, it's just amazing, most amazingness there. I like to think about Isaac, getting his health back and, just, just feels, love it, love it, love it. Ooh. So goodness, right there. You can find me. This was lovely. Oh, by the way, you should all back the Kickstarter because it's amazing. The quality of the stuff is wonderful. You probably can't see it, but I've got all my Good Society stuff that's just right over there. So do it. It's really good. My cards over there too. Don't. But you can find me on my Twitch at TrooperSJP. I stream role-playing games every Friday and video games and all that. You can find me on other folks' channels here and there, but that's where you can find me. And it has been such an honor to play with these folks. Such an amazing game. My goodness. Whew.
Thank you all so much for playing, and thank you to everyone who watched the whole thing. We'll say bye.